Yeah, so I work with international students, visiting scholars that come to Pittsburgh to our various universities, and it's an exciting time. Summer is always, I love it because students who are here are more available than during the academic year. Sometimes it's hard to break into their schedules, but summertime is more opportunities for personal interaction. So I would just ask you to pray for. We have a ministry house. It's called the PRISM Hospitality House, and we do short-term stays for people when they first arrive to Pittsburgh. They can stay in the house for a week or two while they're looking for an apartment, or up to a month. And so we have a guy from Spain coming, a woman from Brazil is coming fairly soon. A couple from Iran stayed there. They were so nervous. It was their first time ever leaving Iran, and they just to have a place to land was huge for them. Now they come to everything that we do. So it's just a great platform for ministry. But the house also is a place for Bible studies and small groups and women's ministry. So just pray God's blessing on that house. It's a big job to manage it, and it's running a house is a lot of work. So just pray for God's blessing on that. Pray for our new staff worker, a guy, he literally came to Pittsburgh as a refugee from Iran. He accepted Christ from a Muslim background and he in Iran and fled Iran because his life was really in danger and his family. He hoped to come to the U.S., but he couldn't. Obviously, the U.S. wasn't taking people from Iran, so he went to Malaysia and thinking it would be a short stopover until he got accepted to come to the U.S. Well, his stopover turned into 12 years. So his name is Farshid, and he came from Iran to Malaysia, and after 12 years, something changed with immigration. They made an exception for religious immigrants, so he got a letter from the U.S. government saying you can come, and which city would you like to go to? He knew somebody in Pittsburgh that had been in Malaysia, and so he chose Pittsburgh. And so Farshid came here. He's this amazing. He spent 12 years not being able to work. Like Malaysia took refugees, but they didn't allow them to legally work. So he just taught English. He's a professor of English literature in Iran. Before he
Did he
came.
speak at the last dinner?
Yeah, he spoke at the prison banquet. So
yeah, guy with long hair, very articulate and funny.
Very articulate, very articulate.
Yeah,
went to seminary online, just devoured apologetics material for 12 years where he wasn't able to work. And it's just so cool to have him on our staff now. He's so he's very evangelistic, very much just. Yeah, I took him home the other day, and he leaned over. He said, "Scott, Pastor Scott." He always called me Pastor Scott. Can I ask you a question? I said, "Sure." He said, "Can I hug you?" And he leaned over. He's just like 6'4" guy. He leans over, gets a big hug. He just said, "Thanks for believing in me. And thank you for giving me a job." He's just he's so beside himself to be able to not only have a legal job, but to be doing what he wants to be doing in ministry. So it's so fun. It's so fun to see him settling in. So pray for God's blessing on Farshid's ministry. Pray for the house, and pray for our Connections program. We have an online platform where we match people, and we're just praying that God would that could be our biggest way to mobilize Christians in Pittsburgh to connect with international students. There's about 200 people in that program now, but we could see it being 400 or 500. So pray God's blessing on that. And I think those three things. And personally, just maybe some catching of breath, refreshment during the summer. It's a little slower than the academic year. So just being refreshed. And I'm preaching too in an Indian church. I preach on Sundays at an Indian church just temporarily while they're looking for a pastor.
So. Oh, you were doing that at a different...
I did that at the Korean church for a while. I know all the ethnic churches in Pittsburgh. Yeah. So the Indian church, that's interesting. I just tell them I'm from northern India. They're a little lighter skin up there, but